Welcome back to the second and final episode of Mod My BMW 335i, where we're going to finish up the exterior and hit the dyno. If you haven't watched the last episode, go do so, because we did a ton of performance upgrades, including exhaust, intercooler, some piping, an intake, and we did suspension on this thing, coilover. So this car is ready to rock, but now we need to match the performance with the looks. And we're gonna start off by the headlights, of course. I have turned to Spider Auto, and they make this E92 headlight that I think is absolutely gorgeous. It's kind of an updated look in terms of what most modern BMWs come with. As you can see, the halos are kind of cut off on the bottom, whereas these ones are rounded, have that dated look, and it's got this nice eyebrow. And we do need to swap over all our ballasts and a couple other accessories to make this work, but it should be a bolt-on affair. So I'm gonna install this right now, and then we're gonna show you what it looks like.
While Pete finishes up on the BMW, now is the perfect time to tell you about today's sponsor, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of courses for creatives or anyone who wants to learn a new skill, from photography and videography like we do a lot of around here, to illustration, 3D graphics, or even marketing and branding. As a matter of fact, we just ran into an interesting problem here at the shop where we need to move this throttle body to clear the fuel rail. And to do that, our friends at Violate Manufacturing have actually 3D printed some spacers that we're going to use here. This piqued my interest in 3D printing, so I jumped on Skillshare, and sure enough, they have a wide range of classes that teach you in very practical terms how to design something and then 3D print it. I found Lauren Slowick's course called Introduction to 3D Printing a really great place to learn some of the basics, and then I jumped over to Vladimir Mariano's courses on Fusion 360 because that's the software I want to use when designing 3D rapid prototypes. I'm a huge fan of how concise and practical these courses were. As a matter of fact, in less than an hour of time in those classes, I'm now confident I could design the spacers to solve that problem for our throttle body or any number of other projects we have here at the shop. If you'd like to learn a new skill too, the first 1,000 people that use the link in the description will get a free trial to Skillshare's premium membership, and after that it's only around 10 bucks a month. Thank you very much, Skillshare, for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get back to see how Pete's making out.
Lights are in, and wow, what a difference! Does this not look like a new BMW? It's purely amazing what a set of headlights can do, especially these Spider Auto ones. Like, I absolutely love the LED, and you're really reusing a lot of your OEM. And you guys saw I swapped over the ballast. There's a whole bunch of stuff that needed to be moved over, and because of that, you've got OEM quality there too. So win-win on this.
Bam, there you go, everyone. It is time for the big wheel and tire reveal, and who doesn't love a fresh set of wheels on a car that's going to be freshened up a lot as well? These are, of course, Anki's RS05 RRs. These are part of their racing series of wheels, which mean these are their lightest and strongest wheels. They are the top dog in their lineup, and I also think they look pretty darn amazing. This is one of the coolest looking wheels in Anki's lineup. I've always loved it. I think it's like 15 spoke design, has a very like British touring car look to it. They have offered 3 different faces and 2 different colors. We'll have the 18 by 8.5 in the front with a plus 35 offset, and an 18 by 9.5 rear, also a plus 35 offset, and you'll see that the rear has more concave to the face than the fronts do. So we'll have kind of a cool staggered look going on. For tires, once again, we have gone with Continental's Extreme Contact Sport. You guys are familiar with this tire by now because we run these on a ton of our cars here, and we consider them to be one of the very best ultra high performance summer tires on the market. They do it all. They're exceptionally good in the dry, they're very good in the rain, and they can take some track abuse too. So on a car that's going to be making as much power as this, it really is going to need all the grip that these 340 tread wear summer tires will offer. So let's throw them on the car now and see how they look. Woo! Look at that, everyone. World's easiest tire install, and it is looking proper on there.
The wheels that came on this car are, correct me if I'm wrong, replica CSL wheels, and they're kind of the go-to for every BMW 3 Series that I see. This is such a common wheel, and that's why we wanted to change them out for something different. And they're 19s, which are heavy and bulky. As you can see, the tire on this one has seen better days. It is majorly camber worn out in this section. And upgrading to these, we actually have saved 5 pounds. So that old setup was 50 pounds. The new one is 45. And man, I absolutely, like Dave said, I absolutely love how good these look. These going to an 18 was for us on purpose. I think it gives it more of like a meaty tire look. It's kind of like a racy look. And of course, it's gonna soak up the bumps much better. I found this car rode really harshly on those 19s and obviously just the lowering springs. So I'm pumped to put this on.
So based on the ride height that I set the coilover collar to, this should be showing me 33 centimeters, and I'm actually at 34 3/4 or 34 and a half. So assuming that the specs in the manual are correct, which I'm sure they are, that means this is going to come down like 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch as we drive the car. And as we learned on Pete's CT, that did happen on that car. We set it in the shop at the right height we wanted it, and then it came down like another probably 3/4 of an inch, which is exactly what this will come down to. And this is also, I think, up even now, even though it looks a little high compared to what it did before. Remember, it was on a lowering spring with like blown shocks before. It was sitting too low. It was on the bump stops all the time before, which is why those rear bump stops were destroyed. So this is, I think, a much more realistic, practical ride height already for Canadian roads, and it will come down, I think, about 3/4 of an inch once we start driving it. So don't panic, everyone. It will look better after we get it aligned and it's been street driven a bit. As you guys just saw, we used this new Sonax Profiline XP0206 Express Polish. It's a lot of words, but as on their scale here, as you can see, it's a 2 cut and a 6 polish. So it's not a very aggressive cut, but it is a very glossy, high shine finish. And as you can see, it did deliver. This thing is really shiny. It looks fantastic, and it also has a built-in coating in it. So it's got like, I don't know if it's a ceramic coating in it, but it's got a coating in it, so we don't need to come in and ceramic coat it or wax or anything like that. It's now good to go, and man, it does look good to go, doesn't it, PT?
Oh, it looks so good, man. I
still think we need to maybe lower the front just a smidge, but the wheels, the gloss, the headlights, it really gives it that like OE plus look, doesn't it? And we decided not to go with the chin spoiler or anything else, or like fashion-wise, because this thing's really kind of sleeperish, isn't it? With the amount of power we're going to be adding with all those Cobb goodies, I think it's kind of the ultimate sleeper. So maybe it's time, PT, to head to the dyno? Is that where we're going next?
I think it is, yep.
All right, we are back at BMS Tuning to see how this thing does now that we've installed all those cob parts and are going to reflash the ECU with their Stage 1 Plus front-mounted intercooler on 93 octane tune. So Pete's just loaded that on there, so let's see how it does on the dyno. We did not swap the cams in this thing, everybody. That is not chop. That is the sound of a misfiring engine. So we have a fairly serious problem on our hands, but there's some good news here. So let's have a look at the dyno graph before we get to the bad stuff. This is John from BMS, the brains of the operation here, and we've got some good news and some bad news, don't we?
We do.
The good news seems to be that it was making a whole bunch of power.
It picked up very well initially.
Yeah.
It held great power and torque to about 4,000-ish RPM.
Yeah.
And then it didn't like it from then.
It just fell flat on its face.
It fell flat on its face, through a code, we got out of the pull, and it looks like there's some injector driver issues in the ECM.
Right.
It's a little bit of a typical issue with these cars, other BMWs as well. Fairly straightforward fix. We're going to take that apart and see that's exactly what it is and proceed from there, and hopefully get it back on the rollers.
Okay. He's being very humble. We broke down in the right place because he's actually like a trained electronics specialist.
Yeah.
So he's going to weld in, or not weld in, but solder in the fix. It's like a MOSFET?
It's a MOSFET. Sometimes you got one, sometimes you got multiple MOSFETs that fail on these.
Right.
And it's a fairly straightforward fix, I guess, if you've done it before. So.
Right. So if you own a 335i, make sure you break down in the right place, everybody. So we'll come back once he's soldering and try to complete that big power pull, because man, it's looking promising there. We are back at BMS Tuning, and John has saved the day. He has MOSFETted our ECU. Can you kind of run us through that process a little bit?
Yeah, so these BMWs have a little bit of a weird quirk on the DME. There's the MOSFETs that run the injectors. They're not exactly up to the task sometimes. Even on a stock vehicle, they can fail. In this case, they did fail, and we did replace them with upgraded units that can handle double the current, double the voltage, as well as 2 ignition coils we had to replace as well, and that has saved everything, and it is working well.
Yeah, it's weird that the coil packs went at the same time, but you think there may have been some
There may have been, or it could just be a bit of coincidence. It's hard to say. There is a voltage spike issue when the chip fails, so perhaps that was what took out the coils. It's hard to say. Yeah,
it's
definitely.
worth noting really that this wasn't a cob issue. This was an issue of these components
Correct.
being under spec.
Correct. The DME, the MOSFETs in the DME are extremely under spec for these vehicles, and they can fail even on a stock configuration, on a stock tune. When you do put a tune on them, there are obviously has been more stress. The injector's being held open longer, and it is putting more stress on the MOSFET itself.
Right. We are now ready to make some power runs and see what kind of jam we pick up on this Stage 1 plus front mount intercooler 93 octane tune. So let's have at it. Well guys, here we have the baseline in blue versus our best power run in red, and wow, it did pick up a whole bunch of power, didn't it?
A lot.
We should mention, by the way, that this baseline is from today. So this is with the fixes that you made to the ECU.
Yeah, so the ECU has been reset, so this is like literally the factory calibration without any time for it to adapt, and they generally will pick up once they adapt a little bit.
Right, and we did see better numbers than that when we were here originally.
Correct.
Which means that, you know, with some learning, that baseline might come up a bit, but we thought we'd show you the true, like, same day baseline versus the Stage 1 Plus front mount intercooler tune, and man, we picked up almost 75 wheel horsepower, peak versus peak, and almost 120 foot-pounds of torque, peak versus peak, and there's, I mean, the mid-range gains are just massive, so this thing is going to feel way faster, isn't it? So our peak horsepower went up from 260 to 343, and our peak torque went up from 268 to 385.
That's insane.
That is some serious jam.
It is.
For what is a very lightly modified,
very
off-the-shelf tune, like,
yeah.
you know, let that thing upload for 5 minutes and boom, you've got a whole bunch of horsepower. So pretty amazing. As a matter of fact, why don't we test out the Stage 1 tune to see how that compares to the One Plus front mount. You know, see where it falls. I think it's going to fall in between somewhere, isn't it?
Yeah, I would say so, definitely.
Let's try that out. So there we've got our stage 1 tune in green, and our peak numbers did drop as expected. Boost came down to 13 pounds from a peak of 16. And so our peak number came down to 316 and 356. So it dropped about 25 horsepower and about 30 foot-pounds of torque. But that's still pretty darn impressive gains, isn't it? I mean, the front mount intercooler being in place, which this tune isn't really designed for, might be boosting those numbers up a little bit.
Perhaps. I mean, it's once the boost starts to climb, that's when the intercooler will really be of benefit.
Right.
But there definitely might be some small change.
Yeah. All in all, still, that is a big improvement over the stock tune. So, man, impressed by how responsive this motor is to these kinds of changes, and the fact that you can do it all with an off-the-shelf tune is pretty impressive. It'd be fun to play around with a Pro Tune on this car at some point, but I think for now we just got to thank John and everyone at BMS Tuning for fixing this thing up and letting us play on your dyno. So thanks very much for that.
No problem. Thank you guys.
We're going to maybe go and see how it feels on the street now. What do you think, PT?
I'm into it.
Let's do it.
Wow. Okay, the first thing I have to say about this car is the difference in ride quality.
Yeah.
It is staggering. Here are some railroad tracks before. Like, look at
Oh,
dude.
it soaks it right up.
Oh my God.
It used to crash over everything.
It was like, whether it's the 19s and the poor suspension, I think that combination just did not work well. Now with the 18s and the STs.
It's so different. It's
oh
crazy.
My God, it is absolutely different. And I know some of you are going to say, well, 19s look better on these cars. I think that's a preference thing. But you know what? It's so worth it if you want to daily drive one of these to go to 18s. And I think it looks really good.
It does look great. I love the look of the 18s. It gives it a bit more of a beefy sidewall. To me, the 19s look like they got rubber bands for tires. It doesn't look right to me, and I'm obviously made a huge difference in terms of ride comfort, but I mean, these ST dampers are working perfectly on this car. This is the way this car should feel.
We've actually set this car up better than I expected. I did not expect it to ride this well, man. It's like the biggest difference I've ever seen on a vehicle we've done.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever put an aftermarket, like performance-oriented coilover system on a car without there being like a little bit of a trade-off in ride comfort, but this is actually better than OE.
Yeah.
Like how often can you say you've made a car better comfort-wise than OE without giving up any performance? In fact, I'm pretty sure it's going to perform better than it did before.
I'm going to go to sport mode here.
Okay.
And bear in mind, it's one of those days where it's pretty cold.
It's very cold out, yeah.
Yeah, and we know this car is going to break the tires loose, even those 275s. It's just going to spin them very quickly.
Roll into it.
Yeah, so I'm going to roll into this, give ourselves a little bit of a gap here, getting onto the highway, and so we can feel the true power of all these new mods. But you know, after looking at the dyno chart, this thing's gonna. I can't imagine it's going to be any better. So I'm going to go to, here's second gear, so I'm just going to lightly roll into this thing. Whoa! Jesus! Oh, man, it is quick!
Wow!
Dude!
That is properly quick! Wow!
It just like spun the tire.
Yeah, I know, the back end was
and then it
skating a little.
hooked and it was gone.
Wow, that is quick!
Wow. That like an instant surge of torque. These turbos, they come on pretty quickly.
They do.
And then they just like, they give you that hit and then you're just like flying
It's
along.
got a mountain of torque.
Yeah,
and you could see it in the dyno graph. It was going to make a lot of torque early and then trail off. And
so good.
Woo. And the gearbox works really well with that.
It does, yeah. It seems to handle it. Let me give you a little bit more. I'm going to squeeze it here. Oh man, it just, look at that. And that isn't even downshifting.
No.
That was just like getting into it. This car is just so smooth, the way it delivers the power.
It's impressive.
And it's an unassuming car. Not that it's a sleeper per se, because people know that 335is are fast.
Yeah.
But what it does present to you is it doesn't have any like gaudy wheels or body kit. You're just like cruising down the road.
Yeah.
It's got those lights. People might think, whoa, what's up with this car? And then you floor this thing, and man, it moves. And
it is
like
fast.
You know, like cruising on the highway too, you can't hear that exhaust. Like that exhaust is just so right for a street car, right?
No, it's a very mature exhaust sound. When you get on it, it gives you that sporty tone, but when you're cruising, there's no drone, there's really nothing at all as far as like, you know, audible sound back there. So It's really nice. I'm impressed by this overall package. I mean, I'm still a little afraid of BMW ownership after what we went through with this and what I've seen you go through with your cars, but what a value these things are.
100%, and they just need proper maintenance.
They need maintenance.
That's
absolutely.
what it comes down to. You just have to be prepared for it, but like that kind of power,
for this kind of money to have that kind of power?
Yeah,
that's
that's
incredible
staggering. Value. Okay, and we should say, man, this thing handles really nicely too. So.
Yeah.
Oh man, like this thing just pulls. Holy crap!
It's quick.
We're going so fast there. Wow, man.
It is properly quick. Wow.
Oh, this is so good.
And it just feels like a very refined car on these ST coilovers. You know, the Contis ride great. And these are really suboptimal conditions for these ultra high-performance summer tires.
And they're still hanging on.
They're doing a really good job.
Real good.
And the ride quality on these tires is exceptional. So no road noise.
No.
I mean, wow.
And I feel we've really built what could be one of the best daily drivers out there.
Yeah,
like,
fast, fun daily driver.
And it's automatic. Like, look at, I'm just going to squeeze into here to try to merge, and it just like, it just comes on. It's so smooth.
It's just torque everywhere.
Like, honestly, this thing, man.
Yeah, I'm kind of sold on this car right now.
Yeah, me too.
It's like impressive. Man, all in all, a winning package, I gotta say.
For sure. And, you know, the one thing I also want to comment on is we've put all Cobb stuff on here, and I think that is a testament to making sure you've got the right parts working in conjunction together.
Yeah, exactly.
Because, you know, there's things about people struggle when they source different parts, put it all together.
Yep.
Like, we wanted an off-the-shelf tune. Sure, if you go custom tune, it's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
But we wanted simple, easy. We want to show you guys simple and easy, and this is the definition of simple and easy.
It really is.
You know, both these parts on, throw in a map. You don't even need to go to the dyno.
No.
We just did it to show you guys the difference, and you can go rip, and it's it. Well, that is a wrap on this one, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. I think we have built quite an awesome BMW 335i, and it was super quick and easy. So certainly post in the comments, tell us what you think. Do you have a newfound respect for these cars, or are you still worried they might be maintenance hogs?